This video is going to look at the Constitution of Weimar Germany and explain its intricacies. So a bit of background then. So in 1918, just after the First World War had ended, the Kaiser has to abdicate and Germany was left with the chance for a new beginning. Every country needs a constitution, a set of rules that guides out how it's governed, and Germany was no different. So a committee was set up by Hugo Preuss and it set about designing a new constitution for Germany. It was accepted by the Reichstag, the German parliament, and the first elections of January 1919 seemed to prove positive, of 76% of voters voting for pro-Weimar, pro-democracy parties like the SPD, the DDP, and centre parties. Philipp Schiedemann was the first Chancellor, and Friedrich Ebert was the first president, and was described as the most democratic constitution in the world at the time. Ironically, it was later blamed as one of the key reasons German Weimar democracy failed. So let's have a look and see about the key features. So these are the key features of Weimar democracy. First of all, it was going to be made a democratic federal republic. So democratic, all males and females over 20 could actually vote. That's one of the freest in the world. It's federal, so Germany was divided up into 17 states or Länder, each with its own representation and parliament. It's a republic, so there's going to be an elected president. There's no king, there's no Kaiser, there's no monarchy anymore, so it's a republic. Germany is also given a strong head of state, so a president, and that president's elected every 7 years. It's to be appointed, it's to appoint the Chancellor, usually from the largest party. The president could dismiss the Reichstag and call elections. It could also use Article 48 emergency powers, which allowed them to make laws without the Reichstag in extreme circumstances. This will be very, very important later on. The president was also supreme commander of Germany's armed forces. What about the Reichstag then? Well, this is the main parliament and law-making body. Deputies were elected to it every 4 years by the people. I was elected using a form of PR, a very representative system. This allows lots of different parties, lots of different representation, and therefore prevents very strong party governments. The Reichsrat is the second part of the bicameral system, and it's just made up of representatives from the 17 Länder regions of Germany. And it has the powers to kind of start or delay laws, but it could be overruled by the Reichstag. There's also a Bill of Rights in the new Germany. So Constitution guaranteed civil rights, personal liberty, free speech, freedom of conscience, and freedom of the press. So censorship was forbidden. Also, social rights were guaranteed as well, such as welfare payments when times were tough, and as well as that workers' rights. There is a Chancellor in Germany as well. They're appointed from the Reichstag by the president, usually, but not always. This was the leader of the largest party electorally. And the Chancellor needed the support of the majority in the Reichstag, and this was not always easy. So what are the weaknesses in this system? Well, by giving rights even to those who oppose the very existence of the new democracy, Weimar sowed the seeds of its own fate. PR encouraged the growth of many parties. This made it extremely difficult for one party to gain a strong majority and led to many weak and very ineffective coalitions. There's often disagreements between rival parties, and governments changed regularly. PR also gives small extreme parties the chance for them to make an impact. Under PR, they get representation and perhaps even hold the balance of power in very close elections. And all this made democracy very highly unstable. There was 11 different chancellors and 21 different cabinets in the 14-year history of the Weimar Republic. The longest lasting was Müller's Grand Coalition, and it was only 2 years. The president had too much potential power as well in an emergency. They could virtually rule like a dictator in emergencies. They could, get rid of democracy virtually. And the definition of what an emergency was never very clear. And then finally, that federal system also posed problems. Some states were notably opposed to Weimar democracy, and a state only needed to be taken over by extremists to pose a danger to the central government. That could actually attack Berlin, or it could secede from Germany altogether. So it was those two parallel dangers. There were problems as well with the acceptance of the new democratic republic. So the old Wilhelmine establishment, the army leadership, the judiciary, the civil service, they are loyal to what had been before. They're certainly not very loyal to the new Weimar democracy. So they're conservative by nature. They didn't like the change from the Kaiser to democracy. And this undermines the new republic. And you can see this in various ways in the next coming sets of lessons. So this undermined the new republic as these groups either only cooperated on duress or indeed made decisions undermining the new republic. And the Weimar Constitution was a compromise arrangement following great political turmoil after the war, and as such it couldn't please everyone and had many key groups who hated it, and this undermined it from the very start. There were, however, some strengths. So it was highly democratic, it was free, all German citizens were guaranteed equal rights, all citizens could vote at 20. PR allowed lots of different opinions to be included, and there was a lot more representation than previously. Presidential power ensured strong, steady leadership in a crisis. Germany was used to that, used to a strong leader, strong chancellor, strong monarch. So a strong president was nothing new. The federal nature of Germany as well ensured that all states had significant powers to include the various traditions and backgrounds in Germany. And modern historians argue that it was a simple choice in 1919 between authoritarian communism or a liberal democracy, and liberal democracy was certainly the best choice. It was the circumstances that engulfed Germany that really weakened the state.